Through the Mayhem, the Sightly podcast series, bringing marketing industry leaders together to discuss the ever-shifting media landscape. Learn about the ins and outs of real-time marketing, influencers, data privacy, technology, and so much more. All from industry experts with real experience, giving you the real answers. Now, let's break through the mayhem.
Welcome back to another episode of Sightly's Breaking Through the Mayhem podcast. I'm your host for today's episode, Ben Lambert, Sightly's SVP of Sales. I'm thrilled to be hosting this live and in-person episode with one of the best human beings out there, Ali Amarsy, the Chief Strategy Officer of Digitas, one of Ad Age's 2024 40 Under 40 honorees. As Chief Strategy Officer, Ali Amarsy leads the overachieving strategic vision of Digitas, tapping his digital insights and culture-driven approach to enhance clients' collective network experiences across digital platforms. Previously, Ali was the global product strategy lead at Publicis Commerce, responsible for shaping the commerce offering of 25-plus Publicis Group markets. He worked closely alongside partners such as Google, Amazon, and TikTok to help Publicis Group clients like Disney and Nestle achieve stronger commerce outcomes. Under his leadership, Publicis has significantly impacted the product roadmaps of major platforms and partners, developing first-to-market creative commerce solutions that have delivered double-digit sales growth and increased brand affinity across clients in the CPG, pharma, and beauty categories. His expertise in brand strategy, shopper marketing, media, and commerce enables him to approach platform solutions and KPIs through a brand's perspective. In his time away from work, Ali is an adjunct professor at New York's Fashion Institute of Technology and leads Harvard Business School Club of New York's Alumni Startup Division. Ali, welcome. Super excited to have you on Breaking Through the Mayhem.
Thanks for having me. Shout out PR department for putting that together. It's very flattering, very well put.
It is a very impressive resume. Would love to hear a little bit about your journey of how you got to all of those accolades, and then would love to kind of talk through some other really cool topics that we have today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you'll realize this about me. It's always the long scenic route, but let me give it to you. Born and raised in Montreal and Paris, and then started my professional career in Dubai. And I think each of those cities has had a different impact on me. The two first ones, Montreal and Paris, are just naturally cosmopolitan. It's always been about a diverse and inclusive mindset and an acceptance of other opinions, which has really led to important factors within myself. But then also when it comes to Dubai, I know that Dubai is famous now, but even more famous now. But when we went there as a family, we really saw it grow. There was a hustler's mentality. There was a us against the world type of mentality where everyone just did things, made them happen, and saw big success. So I think those were all very formative moments for me. And one thing that I always talk about is the most formative moment for me was actually that my dad would take me out of school as a 9 to 14-year-old on random days and take me to business meetings with him. He'd sit me in the corner and I'd sit in the background. And I'm sure it affected his credibility as a professional, although he worked in the education space where, kids were a target market, so it's not totally off topic. But I had the chance to witness someone pitch daily. And I had the chance to see him in professional environments, but also to be interacting with some quite powerful, influential people, which has led to me being less intimidated today, more comfortable speaking publicly. In fact, it's my favorite thing to do, presenting and pitching. And that is, I believe, my competitive advantage to date, which is the cosmopolitan background of the cities I was fortunate enough to grow up in, the hustler's mentality of Dubai and the make it happen mentality there, and then the superpowers that my parents gave me just from exposure and the people that they are.
That's really amazing. And I feel like the bring your kid to work day is one of those that draws some skepticism from people at times, but hearing, firsthand how powerful that was for you is really cool. I mean,
we did a bring your person to work day last year at Digitas. So no matter who your person is, and some people, I actually flew in my parents. My parents came in from Dubai for that. Well, they actually love this, right? But people brought their partner, people brought their roommate. We challenged someone to bring a first date. No one did that. But people brought in their pets. And this was a really great testing ground for some of our more junior talent to share POVs and thought pieces, a TED Talk equivalent, in a safer space with supporters, but also with a group of people who are outside of our industry, so we could get a feeling for what the average consumer is thinking. So it's a really great learning experience, and we're going to replicate that this year.
That's really cool. It's a great idea, and I feel like there's all these conversations all the time of like nobody knows what we do in our industry that isn't in it, and your significant others, have no clue what they do or what you do in work, and the bring your person to work idea is a really cool concept.
Come through next year.
I'm in.
You could be one of my people.
There we go. I love it. Well, I think that does really speak to the person that you are. And, you and I have gotten to know each other, recently. And, I think the world of you as just a human being, which coming from, you talked about it of your roots of being, from Montreal. I'm from Boston. Hockey world, we're not always the best of friends with the Canadiens and the Bruins, but it is something that, you can see through that at times. And I know we've talked about some of the really cool culture moments that we've talked about that happen all the time in sports and the fandoms, and us being able to be friends, even though we both have very different opinions on hockey teams, I think is a true testament to the people. And we'll love to kind of talk in a little bit more about what you guys are doing at Digitas in that type of space.
Yeah, so I think that first Montreal Canadiens for life till I die. And as a result, it does allow us a playing field to discuss on, but I inherently think that you just don't get it because you are a Boston Bruins fan and you are nothing like me. Despite the fact that on every metric, every demographic, you and I are actually very similar. Age-wise, demographic-wise, where we live, how we live, even our partners, a lot of things in common. And even our hobby, which is niche, amongst the top 4 sports, hockey is far behind. So you'd assume that we'd be overlapping quite a bit, but we still find in our community of the Montreal Canadiens fans that you and I are very different. And even if you were to steal my phone, you could not parade as me in my community because you just don't get it, despite the fact that you are adjacent. There are so many things that we have in common. So we have this core hypothesis that the future of social and perhaps even of how we build brands lies in community. And community is a connection of people through psychographic, not demographic. Because other 40-year-olds who live in Flatiron, New York aren't like me. I'm much closer to a 16-year-old who lives in Montreal who's also a rabid Canadiens fan and puts it above all of their life priorities because they and I share that same mentality. So built on that core concept, which may have sounded like it started in joke and hyperbole, we've actually built out a thesis on that, where if you look at these communities in the construct, even to put it a bit more extreme, if you look at them as a cult, the way a cult is designed is that you have a leader, you have rituals, you have unsaid truths, you have certain pieces of hardware that are core to that entire culture. If you were to look at every community that way, you could truly find what makes it tick and what joins it in a deep way, right? And then when that community is open to communication, that's where you really are making an impact, right? Because again, you and I are close, but you do not know. So I know what's wrong with the Boston Bruins, many things. But even if I were to say the opposite of those things and take your phone and go in your chat, they'd find me out very quickly. The reals from the fakes would be shown very quickly because there are certain things within Montreal Canadiens lore that you may not be aware of. You may not be aware of that we are actually not very open to the other. That is something that comes culturally from the geography of Montreal, the hockey style of Montreal, so on and so forth. But once you're in, right? The deep Reddit groups, the group chats, once you're in there, and if you can authentically be part of it, suddenly you have an unlock to people who see you as one of them. And once you reach that level of authenticity, that's where a brand can truly be earning their way into their lives and create a networked experience or having the right place in the right time to connect with that audience. So we truly see that moving forward, if you were to start with a community mindset, then turn that into an actual audience that can be addressed, we can have real impact for brands. We've tested that theory with certain cults or communities like the Montreal Canadiens fandom, but also 40-year-old teen moms, right? So 40-year-old moms who believe they have the mentality still of a teen. That is something that we've picked up in culture. Actually, our national head of social strategy identifies as that. She has found community in that. It was a hypothesis of hers. We tested it out, and we found that it's actually a sizable audience. So moving forward, when we're going to pitch to them a diaper brand or a food formula brand or even concert tickets to Backstreet Boys, we have a different way in because we understand the community deeply.
Wow. It's really incredible. And I think, yes, we were having a little fun of our Bruins and Canadiens fandom, but when you really do a deep dive into these cultures, these communities, and what brands are really trying to do to connect with these audiences and find them and be loyal. Mm-hmm. And really the word authenticity, one that you mentioned, I think is really important because to your point, you can spot the fake fan and the person that's there. And I think consumers today really see that with brands that are acting authentically to who they are as a brand to be able to connect with their core audiences and those most passionate audiences. And I do think what you're talking about of using Reddit, using all of this different data sources to be able to come up with these and back up these theories and concepts is really powerful. And the use of AI just makes it that much better. And, as somebody like yourself that's been doing this for some time now, before AI was really part of the conversation, to now have that, how much has that really helped to kind of speed up that process? And when you're talking to some of your younger and newer employees that probably are a little deeper into the culture game naturally, being able to give them the tools and to speed up that process, I'm sure is really powerful to get to those outputs for you guys.
So AI has given us the ability to do 4 core things. It's accuracy, efficiency, sparkle, and impact. Sparkle being, that's the one that stands out. That doesn't sound like a marketing term, but it's very much a Digitas term. We are unicorns and we want to spread magic and we want to create experiences that people want in their lives. And that requires sparkle. Consider it breakthrough, consider it a creative experience, whatever you want to call it, but it's that magic. But what AI has done for us is, if I were to ask you, if you worked on my team and I said, hey, we're about to pitch sneakers, do a competitive audit of the sneaker brands, you would go either through your mental or your actual algorithm as to what the sneaker brands out there are. You'll probably do Nike, Reebok, Adidas, because of your sports fandom. Those are the brands that are most present there. You may forget about Saucony. You may not know about Anta, depending on what the breadth of your understanding and your algorithm is. As much as we love your personal touch, that is not accurate. All right. So when we're flexing AI, we actually have the ability to look at the market at scale and look at it completely. So not only are we looking at all brands, we are making sure that none of them are not in the consideration set. That is one. Efficiency-wise, if I did ask you to look at all 12 major sneaker brands in the US, it would take you forever. By using AI alongside our process, and again, not outsourcing to AI, but making it help our process, we are more efficient. We can turn that process down into minutes, if not minutes. Let's just keep it at minutes because we know it can be seconds, but that's a bit irresponsible. So that's accuracy, efficiency. So we're talking about scale of market. We're talking about accuracy in regards to what can be handled. And then sparkle is what allows you, we freed up your time, right? Because I just mentioned that this entire expansive exercise, which used to take days, we can now get down to seconds, but we'll keep it to minutes, but perhaps a couple hours, leaves you the delta of time to go try weird things, to go think laterally, to go think about the weird, and to think about what's being unsaid or is not being explored or what's not being done by the prediction engine, which is essentially what the AI is doing, right? And that ultimately will lead to you curating the best solution and the best answers that lead to business impact, which is our 4th metric. So AI has helped us have a broader view, be more efficient about what we do, leaving more space for craft and for a strategist to be able to do interesting things, which hopefully all lead to business impact.
That's amazing. And I think, the speed really is huge and the collection of all of that data. Have you found there to be much pushback from people of wanting to use AI, or are people really embracing it because of the sheer volume of data that they're able to get in a matter of minutes?
Well, so first, we have been very mindful about communicating the AI agents that we work alongside. And you even notice from my tone of voice, I'm like, alongside, that this is meant to be, this is a tool. This is not the answer. This is, see it as an assistant and help you along your journey. And your journey suddenly becomes one of intelligence orchestration because there's so much available to you. There's so many takes. There's so many core logics that we've now formulated the Digitas way that you have your choice of what to do with it. But when you speak about adoption, so first, we've been now working alongside AI agents for since around Thanksgiving, so like 5 months, let's say. We have stopped inventing. We realize that January to June this year is all about adoption and trial. And this, as a strategist would, I see 3 main cohorts within my strategy population, and they do kind of align to seniority. So you have the junior population, new to market, new to industry, who's just like into it, wants to try things, and is close to culture, to your point. They've been early adopters. They're into trying whatever, but their main issue is they haven't put in the 10,000 hours of their own to, connote Gladwell in Outliers. They don't know what good is and what bad is. So when it comes to curation, we actually have to train them on the basics. What is a good strategy? What is a good competitive analysis? So that when their agent partner feeds something back to them, they know if it's good, bad, or worth exploring further. That's one group of early adopters, super high into adoption, but we need to make sure that they're just not going, crazy with it and outsourcing to it. You have the middle group who are mid-career, let's say, on the up, and they've really gotten there based on their own personal ability. We've got to show them the value in the product, that this is not a replacement of them. This is additive to them, and it'll allow them to do more of the things that they signed up for. I watched How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I watched What Women Want. That's what I signed up for. I did not sign up for Excel sheets. So when you promise me that this partner will help me do Excel sheets at scale so that I can go think stuff, think laterally, think weird, as I said, that's our attraction to that audience. But again, they're set in their ways because they've been magic to date. We've got to show them how this is additive, not replacing. And then lastly, the most senior crowd, who are, I would say they're split in 2, but essentially their job couples not only work product, but also people management. We have to show them how these agents add to their arsenal, broaden their scope, allow them again to find joy in their work because they also signed up for What Women Want and that lifestyle. Those are my 3 main cohorts that we're monitoring closely. And again, we see change management as a 6-month process between January and June for this year. And then as of July, actually, we switch the clocks. Everyone is going to be very familiar with how we work, and then we're going to be changing how we work radically. But we do realize that change management is the name of the game, less so the tool. It's more so about how the humans and the magicians or the people doing Sparkle can best use it.
Yeah, I think that's a really key point that gets lost at times when people talk about the use of AI, that it is still about the humans, and I love the word sparkle, that letting the humans sparkle and letting the humans be creative, and that the prompts that are used within AI to make those humans smarter and work better and more efficient really is the biggest value to AI, because there is so much data out there. We talk about it, in our world a lot about contextual alignment and the amount of data within the content itself, and being able to analyze that and how you can use prompts to ensure that you're understanding what's going on. And then from the strategy lens, being able to speed up that process from what you've done historically that used to take you guys, weeks and months. Now you're talking about in 6 months going to be able to, be that much more efficient than what you've been in the last decade of time is going to be massive. And to really let everybody thrive, I think is really exciting, and where it's the smart way, in my opinion, of looking at the use of AI and having those different partners and those different prompts to be able to help and find all that information. Because a lot of times we get stuck in our own ways and we're just like rinse and repeat, and it's all about finding new and leveraging the AI for it.
Yeah, for sure. I think we might even get into a game very soon so first, we are 3 times more effective today as a strategy department than we were a year ago, which is great. Effective, awesome. I would love for 3 months from now for our work product to be 3 times of better quality. So that's a goal that we have. But I think very quickly we're going to get to a point where we're going to be so good at handling data and so good at gathering the data that we're going to have to get good at ignoring some data. We're going to have to look at what we curate, look at what's important, what's not, and what we want to just set aside so that we have space to make a creative leap. So we can have space to do the lateral and to do the things that we signed up for, which again, break out businesses and do interesting things. I can't share it now, but we just recently worked on a pitch and we won the business. We found out yesterday.
Congrats.
But thank you. You'll hear more about it. But a creative line that was developed for that business is so strong, moves people so much, as proven by research, early testing, and just time out in the market, that will move the business. We actually took that line in its earlier stage, tested it with virtual audiences that we've built because of the proprietary data that we have, that we've turned into conversational agents so we can speak to data. We took our strategy to it in a certain form, elevated it based on the feedback that came from it, shared that with creatives, developed creative, had that creative tested with that agent as well, brought it back, then took it to the real world, took it to the market, tested it out with them, and today have developed a creative platform that I believe will break that business open. Again, the manifestation is a creative line, something that I believe is going to truly infiltrate culture and set this business apart. But that was done from a data-driven place and gave space for people to hone their magic and their craft so we can do creative better, so we can do strategy better and media better. But the back end is a very strong foundation of data. When that line drops, you'd be like, oh my God, I've never looked at that category that way. It commands a premium, it commands differentiation, and I feel a thing when I see that. Again, it's the core of advertising. It's a line that makes you feel a thing, but today it's coming from deep data and curating the right data, deciding what to leave aside, what to take, and creating room for that lateral movement, whichever the department of the agency may be.
Yeah, that's really cool. And again, I mean, we could talk about this over and over. The curation of all of that amount of data is huge. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things too that you just talked about, and we haven't gotten to it, as however many minutes in we are already, culture, and how important culture is in being able to use AI to support culture and support your findings, and having people that are already ingrained in culture, but then I would say I'm not, as much as there's certain things that I do pay attention to, but having the technology and all of that data to be able to help people who aren't as in tune to it be able to pay attention, so you can then think laterally, like you talked about. How important is culture to your teams today, and paying attention to it and providing them with the right and necessary tools for it?
It's extremely important. It is, I believe, the accelerant to any idea. I mean, some ideas are great and some ideas are normal. But the difference between an idea that catches people, that makes them feel a thing, makes them do a thing, is will it infiltrate culture at the right place and at the right place for the brand? So that normal idea, which is outdone by a great idea, may travel further because it just hits the right inflection point. So it is truly the accelerant that, in a world where we have too much information around us, you can't buy that type of relevance. No one has a budget big enough for virality or for relevance or resonance. That comes from best interrogating culture, infiltrating it in the right way for the brand, and then carrying on with the wave that comes from it. So we do have tools that do that. For example, we have an approach about observing up-and-coming trends, auditing them, and then infiltrating them at the right way and trend seeding. But one of the things that our system has had to do today when we work alongside AI agents is we've got to explain to it the mechanisms. So, for example, if you look at the term of the year, one of the terms of the year last year, demure, you kind of get it. But the AI agents we work alongside don't. And some of the people who are out of that loop don't as well. And they both need that same explanation, right? So I'm not, it did not hit my TikTok feed up until a point, right? Luckily, I'm surrounded by really smart social strategists who take the time to translate it to me. And essentially, the demure trend was about acting put together in a world of chaos, right? Acting like you've got it going on when in fact we're in our sixth unprecedented thing to happen to us. To break it down that way and for it to be crystallized into like very demure, very cool, to have that crystallized in that term, but then explained in its mechanics, in its cultural mechanics, does allow us in our entire operation to better understand it, better infiltrate it, and better seed into it. Because you don't want to just like slap demure on the back of like a makeup brand, be it relevant or not. You want to understand what it truly means to people, how it makes them feel, so that you can also make them see a thing, feel a thing, do a thing.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there of at the right moment for the brand. Mm-hmm. Something that at Sightly, that's what we've been preaching for years, is that the brand's perspective is really the biggest proponent to the starting of being able to be culturally relevant. That we've seen brands over the years try to participate in culture, think that it's the right play for them, but it ends up not being the right move for them as a brand, even though it is what's happening in culture. And being able to codify that brand and define who the brand is and understand who you are as a brand is a really big component to being able to participate in culture. And I think that's something that, we both really strongly agree on, and where, our brand mentality platform allows brands to do that using AI and being able to do that at speed, because that's the other factor to it. Culture trends move so quickly, and how you're able to navigate them be by having that playbook set up ahead of time of who you are,
Yes.
what matters to your brand is super important.
I think moving forward, honestly, brand strategy is going to be more important than ever. We're also seeing a shift from a world of Google to a world of Gemini. So a world of getting information to a world of seeking out answers. So right now, or pre-2023, I as a consumer, acted in accordance. I spoke Google language. I knew to input terms that would match their SEO and SEM to get what I wanted, because all I wanted was information. It's similar to how you search on Walmart. People today search on Walmart the way a merchandiser does. They ask for the product specifically. But the way that people search on Amazon is much more human. It's like, hey, my ankle hurts. What do I do? We're seeing that. And when you speak to Gemini, so the LLMs out there, we are going with much more unstructured questions and much more broader questions, which is not like, hey, what's your best running sneaker? It's more so, how do I get into the New York Marathon, right? And that involves so many other things. But when it's seen through the filter of a brand, and we know that Nike believes that if you have a body, you're an athlete, it's about perseverance. And Under Armour believes that it's about Steph Curry and the girl dad and protecting this house and the whole different mentality. It will answer your New York Marathon question differently. So that's why Nike needs to be truly set. So in a world of answers, that when you hear from Nike, or when the LLM goes out looking for the right answer, it knows that Nike's better for you, because you connect better with perseverance than you do with this idea of like defense or being a dad girl or a girl dad or whatever it may be. The brands, the more set they are, the beefier their narrative, the better we're going to get to personalized answers as we move to these unstructured questions, where a lot of the LLMs are going to do the filtering for us, right? So I truly believe in that a strong brand is going to win out that phase, to not only infiltrating culture, but also when answers have to find themselves, and you want to have narratives that are ready for people to dive into, and also knowing which ones to just stay clear of, right? There's some answers that you don't want your brand to be present in every question. You want it to be where it's relevant, where you can be useful.
Yeah, I think the personalized touch is huge, and I think all consumers look for it. I think there's so many different ways that a brand can connect to, our earlier conversation of brands connecting with those audiences, but it starts with being true to the brand, and having the brand knowing who they are, and being able to then have the models determine that for them, I think is massive. One of the things you mentioned there was #GirlDad. Mm-hmm. You also talked about the role model your father was for you. Mm-hmm. I don't know when we're going to release this, if you will officially be a father by the time this podcast releases, but you are.
I have 28 days.
You have 28 days from the time of this recording before you officially become a #GirlDad.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that a little personally here of how excited you are to become a father, knowing how your father was obviously a huge role model in your career, and then #GirlDad is something that is super important.
I've been panicked since day one, and that has done nothing but increase. But the excitement has increased at a faster rate and now surpassed the panic. I think that my wife has a competitive advantage because she does have a feedback loop with the baby. I have to invent one in my mind, but now it's more present. I can feel her from the outside. She has 20 nicknames. She has 50 outfits. Like, I am personally ready for her. I have created a universe around her. I look forward to meeting her and seeing how she sees the world, what star she's going to live under. But I think it's pretty great. I've also been surrounded by some amazing women. I hope that she gets to, if she's anything like my wife, we're set, we're good. But also my mom, my sisters, a lot of our friends, it's a privilege to welcome another amazing woman into this world.
That's amazing. Super excited for you. Maybe I'll get her a Bruins onesie just so she can, you can throw it in, teach her how to throw it in the trash.
I was about to say, we need wood fire up in Connecticut. Send it. We'll set it on fire.
That's awesome.
We actually have a buddy. He's a Rangers fan, and when they had their son, I sent him an entire care package of 20 different onesies and towels. It was made for Canadiens fans, but I sent him the entire thing, and he sent us back a picture of them having cleaned up his first poo with it. He gets it, right? He gets it. He knows that is fair game in the hockey community, that's exactly how we show love to one another, but that the love has a limit, because my child would never be caught dead in that clothing. And if my kid ends up being a Rangers fan, she can live with her mom. I was
going to say, you guys are currently New York City residents. So, it could get tough depending on, how she grows up being, an enemy territory, and something you're going to have to figure out. And, as somebody who, my parents were New Yorkers, moved to Boston. Yeah. And when I was growing up, there's one picture of me as a little baby in a New York Yankees hat. My grandparents decided that they weren't going to allow their grandson, as big Yankee fans, to grow up in Boston as a Yankee fan, so started buying me Red Sox stuff.
Wow.
And so that's the story of how I became a Red Sox fan. So it is something that, you might have to think about as she gets a little older.
She would have to be extremely charming because I just see indoctrination starting on day one, March 22nd, in the afternoon after she's born.
Yeah,
we start.
I think, you got to, as they say, start them young, raise them right.
Exactly.
And she'll be all set.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. This has been an incredible in-person episode of Breaking Through the Mayhem. Ali, you are an incredible person. I cannot wait to see what the future brings for you as a #GirlDad, with the Chief Strategy Officer, and everything else that comes. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Hannah, one of the producers for Sightly's Breaking Through the Mayhem podcast. We want to thank you so much for listening to the show. If you want to learn more about the guests we had on today, we included additional information about them in the show notes. Finally, if you'd like to be on the podcast, or if you know someone that would make a great fit, you could fill out the form at sightly.com/podcast. We hope you have a great day.